macros in Vim, you surely know as being very, very powerful. Perhaps you don't have personal experience with why they're powerful, and also you might not have personal experience as to why my CSS got broken again, but you do probably know that, yeah, they fucking slap, they're amazing, and that if you have this role on my Discord server, you will get notifications about my streams. I love how confusing I'm making it to follow my idea currently. like that shit is hilarious. This is what you get for trying to record a video, but actually you're streaming. It's a really weird mix that I'm basically trying to perfect. I find it really fun. Like, I have some sort of thread of thought that I'm going through. And if you've been watching my streams for some time, you will notice this, that I have some certain thread of thought that I'm going to go through, but yet I'm still streaming. I'm like replying to messages, going on tangents, all that stuff. Personally, like, I would love to see content like I am doing, which is why I'm doing it this way. Sorry. But I can definitely see how it can also be like annoying, but oh well. So let me do this. Despite macros being this powerful, and even if you're not like comfortable with them, you might know that, oh, in theory they're like super powerful. But there's this, I guess, feel that I feel like is very common with Vim users. The feeling of, oh, I don't really use macros. Like, sure, I know that they're super powerful, but I don't really make use of them that much. I have... Hello. I have a pretty good idea as to why that is the case. Let's try to record a macro that... what should we do? I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do this correctly, which I guess will prove my point a bit better. But I want to change... So there are two possible ways we can do this. Mapping, either with the function notation, where you do function end and then use Lua API, or you can use it as a Vim command and you call it directly. So what we're going to do right now is make a macro that converts this function notation into this notation. And we will definitely not fuck up in this process. Will not happen. Definitely. Surely. I mean, I'll try to make it correctly, but you'll see what I mean. Let's record into U, and a good practice in making macros is going to something like the start of the line to make sure you have like consistent positioning. Let's search for function. And by the way, yeah, searches do work in macros, which is pretty cool. Then I'm pretty sure there aren't going to be arguments for this function, so we just delete until, or including space. And it's at this point where I'm already not very sure. We can do %sign to go to the closing bracket. I think that's going to be best rather than going to the next space, because maybe the command contains spaces. Because remember, I might use this in some other place. Okay, we go right, delete until the last symbol. We could just delete until comma, and that should be okay. So technically not needed. We go back to the bracket and using %sign again to handle possible spaces. Now, what the fuck do we do now? Let's try it. Let's do delete surrounding function. Oh, it did do something. It was just ridiculously slow. So this I would consider a mistake. See, when I am recording this macro right now, and I'm doing this action, I'm pretty sure it's going to do what I want. And although it did, it was way too slow. And if I then use this macro in the future, it's going to be a bit too slow, especially if I want to repeat it again and again and again and again. But that's not like the biggest mistake. Let's continue. We do cmd, we close it until the single brace and then cr. Okay. We can stop recording the macro. Let's do the same thing here. Let's execute the macro in U. See, we just experienced this moment of it being slow. Like, we visually noticed just how long it took to execute this macro. And if you want to repeat this again and again, it's not like it's really not viable, because you can argue sometimes just waiting for your LSP to load up can be really slow, and yet you still wait. So it's not like it's completely not viable, but it is like pretty annoying. And also another issue, oh fuck, well now I kind of have to go manually to the next thingy. Well, I guess I don't have to because I searched for a function, so I guess I made it a better solution than I even expected. But a good idea for macros generally is to make them automatically go to the next line. So once again, in this example, we search, so it actually handles our issue, but sometimes you either don't want to search or can't search for what you're actually looking for. So what you should do is add a plus is like ideal, or just J to the end of your macro, but well, fuck, I already recorded this macro. I'm not gonna re-record it to add this really small detail. Especially considering that, well, I'm actually kinda done. I mean, like, imagine we had another function notation that we wanted to turn. So I recorded the macro on the first instance, then I executed the macro on the second instance, realized my mistakes, as in, oh fuck, I forgot the plus, and by the time, by the time I figure out this mistake, it took me 2 times, and it's already the last thing that I wanted to edit. So it doesn't really make sense to re-record the macro now, because maybe I don't even want to use it more. And what if then, like in this situation, I recognize another mistake in my macro that I would want to change? Well, fuck, now I have to re-record the macro every time I do the thing, and by the time I get it finally right, well, I would have just done this manually faster. So this kind of sucks, and I think this is the idea as to why people kind of avoid using macros, because they're scary. You can fuck up pretty easily. And even if you are like a good macro user, you will fuck up every once and again. Then also, recording these macros takes a lot of brain power, because you're not just thinking about, oh, what change do I want to make and how to make this change? No. You're thinking in another different plane of macro recording. You're thinking in the sense of, oh, how do I do all these motions to make them as generic as possible so that they work in more places? That is far more difficult to do, and so you slow down. So all of this sucks, and then also, if you do fuck up and want to change your macro, you're probably gonna have to re-record it. First of all, I definitely only have generic motions. I know, right? Exactly. I mean, with I forgot what they're called, and I made the fucking feature. With harp NeoVim's search harps, specifically file type search harps, this can get easier because I can now store text objects, which can be pretty generic. That's still a band-aid though. for something like this. So, right, so you made a mistake in your macro, because you're human, like, obviously. I have, like, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be lying if I said this. I'm pretty sure I have at least 1,000 hours of configuring NeoVim. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. This is not really a flex. I am kind of wasting my life on this, but it's so fun that I just cannot not do it, you know? So, even I will make a mistake every once and again, and sometimes, like, really often. What do we do now? We don't want to re-record the macro, so let's do let at u, and this is a method of how you can define the text inside of a register. Then you do equal mark. You have to quote it, and this is a huge issue, which I'm gonna get to. And then let's paste from the u register. Blammo. This is gibberish. As you can see from the Y with an accent, I definitely did not press it. I don't have that key. If I wanted to make it, I would have to use a compose sequence. So, yeah, don't like get surprised like, oh, what the fuck, I didn't do all of this. That's normal. It's just kind of strange looking. Yeah. So now we can add the J, or I recommend a plus at the end that we wanted to add. So considering that all we wanted to add is just a single character at the end, this approach is like, it's okay. It's not terrible. I'm not gonna jump off a bridge about it, you know? Especially since we didn't need to move to anywhere really. We just went one character and pasted in from you. Now when I press enter, the macro would get updated, but I kind of can't be bothered to prove that. So either believe me or check this out for yourself. This is how by default you can redefine the text in a register. However, if you did actually go ahead and try this out for yourself, you notice that, wait, hold up, this is giving me an error. That is because we fucked up. We fucked up by having a single quote enclosed in other single quotes. Whoopsie. So now what we have to do is change these single quotes to be instead double quotes. Yippee! Question. What if it also contained double quotes there? That's a very good question. I think you're fucked. Maybe possibly in Vim script you can escape them. Do you know that? Do I know that? I read NeoVim help pages for fun, and I'm not like truly sure if you can just escape those in Vim script. I mean, okay, like, fair enough. You go and figure that out, because if it fails, then you will know that you can't, and if it doesn't fail, that you know that you can. Fair enough, but, like, this is a whole entire fucking situation of thinking about how to escape your macro, and you don't probably remember all of these characters that you pressed, and whether it contains single quotes or double quotes. So what this makes you have to do is anytime you record a macro, you should expect that it might break, and you should expect that you might have to edit it. And so you'll probably start thinking, okay, did I use single or double quotes in this macro to make this fucking mental gymnastics of trying to figure out how to enclose them? I despise this bullshit. This is so much effort for... I would have just done this manually by this point. And, like, more easily. Like, genuinely far more easily. This is why macros don't feel worth it. Because one mistake and you're fucked. One mistake and you actually lose out on productivity, on effectiveness. I know, right? It's like half my content. So this fucking sucks. I hate it. Fair enough. There is a... I was gonna use Telescope's picker that shows you all the pickers that it has. Effectively, in Telescope, there is a special picker for registers. I'm pretty sure I removed it. Yeah, I did, because I never used it. Couldn't you just put a cursor on every spot you want to edit and then edit them all at once? I'm gonna get to it. If we look at this example, these are not on the same column. So if you're talking about some kind of multiple cursor idea, the way that they work in Vim is that like actual multiple cursors don't really exist. There's block selection, which you can use as multiple cursors, but it's not like, oh, on every Vim put a new cursor. That's not really a concept. Instead, what you would do is select this, go back, CGN, change it to whatever you want, and then use dot for your alternative for multiple cursors. The actual solution that I've been using, I'll get to though. Then you can also just undo in the middle whilst you edit it. No, not exactly. Because even in Visual Block, if you enter something and you're like, oops, I made a mistake, if you go to normal mode to undo, basically, then you're going to normal mode. And to continue adding stuff, you need to re-enter Visual Block mode, which is like okay, but it's not super viable. Multi-cursor, like Sublime Text, invented them. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was Sublime Text that invented multiple cursors. And for what it's worth, super fucking cool idea. But Vim thankfully gives you such powerful tools that I genuinely have not thought like, oh damn, I wish I had multiple cursors right now. Genuinely, I have not needed them because of the tools that Vim gives you. It makes sense considering the context, but the context at face value from like an outsider stand of point, yeah, it doesn't really make sense. But the more you use it, the more you're like, oh, okay, you know? So, kind of lost my train of thought here. Right, so there's a picker for Telescope for registers. So you can look at your registers, what's in them, and you can also use a special action to edit your register. Voila, right? That's amazing. However, there's an issue. Let me execute, oops, spoiler, some command, I don't know, like print the last line or something with line numbers, and I'm like, whoops, I made a mistake, and that mistake was actually at the start of the command line, and now I want to edit it. In command mode in Vim, you can actually press Ctrl F, and this will open you a window like this. It's usually a bit bigger. It's usually like 5 lines, which I find really useless. Well, it's useful in the sense that you can just go up and then press enter to execute that command. Like, that's very, very cool. I never use it though. But here you can edit your command. You can edit your command, and then when you press enter, it will execute it. It printed as the last line. So you have this option of using Ctrl F to move to the full capabilities of your editor to edit your command. Very, very useful. I super recommend remapping Ctrl F to some other key, which is more convenient to you to press, so that you're more inclined to actually use Ctrl F. Because Ctrl F by default is like impossible to press. Genuinely, it's like terrible. for something that you're kind of supposed to be using pretty often. So cool. Basically, you can have the capability of your full editor with like all stuff that you might have, all the plugins, whatever. Oh, interesting. But forget about it. I'll explain what I just noticed later. Cool. But here's the issue. You can't do that in Telescope's edit register. You only have the option of this insert mode-like mode where you don't have the capabilities. You cannot use Control F, or as far as I know, anything else, to move to a buffer-like place to edit your register. So you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Either use this shitty default approach where you have to think about quotes and double quotes, but you get the option to edit like normally, or you use Telescope where you cannot edit normally, but at least you don't have to think about single and double quotes. Shit sucks. So, what was my solution for the longest time? It was to not use macros. Wow, who could have guessed, right? My solution was to abuse the norm command to use it as macros. I'll tell you, it actually ended up being way more simple most of the time. So let's re-record what we did, but using norm. First of all, I'm pretty sure searches don't work in norm. So to check, let's try it. Let's do func. And we use Control Q enter to enter the literal enter character, the one that we would press when we search for something. And let's just check if it works. Yes, it does. Perfect. Wait, if you don't know if this works, how could you have been using it? Good question. I just don't really use searches in my macros, which could be like 30% of the issue. So let's search for function first, then we df space, then we df this, then hold up, where do we end up? So we end up on the single quote. You can, and you would be correct in arguing that what I'm computing currently in my head is way more difficult than editing a macro and thinking about single and double quotes, but for some reason it just feels way better to me to do this. Believe it or not, I'm like, my brain projects and I think chess players will understand this the best. Like 1,000+ at least chess players will understand what I'm currently doing in my head. I am like basically seeing moves in the future and where my position of the cursor is going to be. Once again, I do realize that practically it is ridiculous to rely on that. Let me finish it first. Yeah, exactly. I'm literally pre-moving in Vim. So we search for this, and that's it. So effectively, I just recorded a macro, and the only reason I can even do this is because of Control Q, to be able to insert keys like enter and escape to make this norm command full. That is how I am able to do it. And this should do it. Blammo. We were on the wrong place, but technically it was okay. So let's... how did that happen? I'm super confused. How? Huh. I have no clue what went wrong, like how it did that. I guess this proves my point that I'm getting to. So, for what it's worth, this usually works. I'm not exactly sure why I didn't here. But my next point would be, oh, like, after you fuck up here, at least you can just go to command mode, go to, like, go up in your history and then just add your J, and here you go. But didn't work here? I probably fucked up somewhere. So this solution of abusing norm to use it as a macro has its issues as well, obviously. At the very least, from the fact that if you do fuck up, you won't even realize midway through recording your macro. You'll realize after, like definitely after. While you record a macro, you can at least sometimes tell in the process that, oh fuck, I fucked up. And then you can either cancel early or even recover. So what now? Do we have no choice? Are we truly fucked? Well, with my plugin, you're not. You can now edit any register that you have in a floating window. Add a J there, then you close this window somehow, it doesn't really matter how, and your changes are automatically saved. And now you can execute this macro, and in a billion years it will finish. And you can see how we actually went down because we just added the J at the end. And what's hilarious to me is that not only is this more convenient to do because you're just using a normal buffer, basically. You're just interacting with the type of text editing that you always do. It's not some weird special mode like command mode, or even worse, the hyper insert mode of that telescope action. No, it's literally just a buffer. As a non-Vim user, this should be built in already. It's really convenient. Yes, thank you for a compliment. You're the best. I love you. Yeah. I know, right? This is why I've been complaining about we need a better model editor. Because genuinely, like, what the fuck is this? Like, why did I have to create... Oh, I haven't mentioned. This is the plugin that I recently released. You can have this, but I'm not yet done advertising this though. So yes, this should be like default behavior. You shouldn't have to do fucking let add. How the fuck do you figure this out? By reading docs? You shouldn't need to for such a fucking like base level feature. Did you, the person watching, know about this? Like, sure, like, if you didn't use Vim before, makes sense that you wouldn't know this, like, duh. But if you did use Vim, did you know about this? I didn't know this about just kind of recently. So this already kind of sucks. And then why do I have to do this? Why are you putting me in Vim script in basically a programming language where I'm supposed to program in, kinda, to just edit the contents of a variable effectively? Why do I have to do it this way? Just make an API, like, make a UI thingy for this. I shouldn't have to make a plugin. But, well, I made a plugin. So what I find hilarious is that it's literally faster to use my plugin to go add a J. I'm like kind of slow because I'm so excited about this plugin. But like, it's way faster than doing the default. And I fucked up, but that's kind of my issue. and then you enter. Oops, wrong enter. I'm kind of doing a bad job at what am I doing? Ah, right. Most of this is just my hotkeys moving really frequently type of issue. But yeah, and then you add J. Have to go through all of this fucking gymnastics just to add a J. You shouldn't need to. Boom. Blammo. Continue using it. Oh, actually, I forgot. This situation where I did DS, I can fucking search. What? I can search to go somewhere? I can use Leap? You know what the coolest thing would be, though? If Vim just had a directory on your file system somewhere with lots of special... Oh my god, I would love that. It would be so simple. For example, ones that contain the contents of the registers. Yes! You could then just open the file in Vim to edit it. You have, like... Yes! That's the correct idea. This shouldn't be program specific. For how often Vim wants to approach things in a component-based way, it is weird for something like registers to be so hard to interact with. They really shouldn't be. Just store them in a file. Like, for fuck's sake. It's terrible, truthfully. Or have another program interact with it. I would like that less, but I would be okay with that. So we did DSF here. I remember what that was. Oh, sorry. And here I can think about, oh, how do I optimize this macro? How do I change this DSF? Let's change that to a DSB, because that's generally faster. So DSB and then DV capital T space. Once again, it's thanks to me being an absolute freak and being very autistic that I'm able to like pattern this out in my head. I do realize that generally you won't be able to do it this easily, but at the very least you have a nice API, or rather a nice UI to go and edit a register, to at least have this ability to go change something somewhere. Plus sometimes it's just going to be a really small bullshit change, like, oh fuck, I used like O instead of capital O, or some really silly small thing that generally in the past you wouldn't be able to change really, or at least not conveniently. Well, now you can. Now you can, and let me reiterate, every single plugin that you have works here. You can change inside entire, done by a plugin. You can use Leap to go somewhere. You can do like anything that you would generally be able to do in a normal buffer, because this is a normal, with some exceptions, buffer. Yeah, registers seem weirdly locked down to me. Indeed, yes. This is why I love my idea of magazines. They're basically system-wide, kind of like global Vim-like registers. And how did I make them? I didn't make them really, they're just literally files in a directory. Like this, I keep on showing to you on streams. Ooh, what is this? This is a magazine, magazine S. And this is just a file named S on my system in a directory called magazines. And it just contains these lines. And then I made a UI around filtering those lines, basically meaning pick some amount of lines and remove those lines from the file. And because I'm just interacting with a file, this UI is general. I can also use the filter action on the I register that contains some window information. I can also do that on J. It's a thingy for my configuration related tasks that I want to do. I can also use it, I mean, you get the idea. I can use it for any magazine that I have because they're literally just files. So this approach of this is just and then you make convenient UIs to interact with it rather than whatever bullshit Vim is doing for close to no reason. And especially considering that most registers are stored permanently. They're not like session specific. There are some that are session specific for sure, but that's not most of them. Why are they all then unaccessible? It's really weird. So blammo. Now I'm thinking about where to go next with my kind of showcase. So we are now able to edit a register. Let me show you, or rather explain, how to open a window. Lamau. Hold up, it's really hot. I wish they disabled this bug where if you talk a lot, you heat up like incredibly much. It's very annoying. It's incredibly fucking annoying. Like, why does that even happen? Wow, it's super annoying. And because it's summer, it's still going to be relatively hot. I'm super annoyed. Let me tell you something that I think is poorly explained. So there are 3 types of Vim registers. Have you noticed that if you copy a line, when you paste it on a new line, on a different entire line, rather than pasting it somewhere here, like in the middle of this line that already exists. Yet, if you like go to the start and yank until the end, I believe like this will do what I want. And when you paste this, this gets pasted into the line rather than on its own. What's the difference? The simple answer is this includes the new line and this doesn't. But it's actually a bit more complex than that. This is because these 2 yankations, these 2 copies, are stored with different types. And there are 3. One is a character-wise. Let's call them yankations, but they also include deletions, changes, substitutions, as in the S, X, or whatever else that touches your registers at all. So let's call them yankations, but that word includes much more. So a character-wise yancation, a line-wise yancation, and a block-wise yancation. So there are 3 types of registers: character-wise, line-wise, block-wise. And this doesn't just apply to what you just did, it also applies to all of your other registers, like register A, register, well, all the letters, obviously. Numbers are weird. You genuinely don't need to even consider them or think about them. They're terrible. They're not worth using. There's the small deletion register, which is also useless. There is a... trying to remember... There's the last yank register, which is slightly useful, but not with the plugin that I'm going to make, and not with this. I'm trying to remember like useful registers. Basically, the idea is this separation of 3 different types doesn't only apply to your default register, it also applies to your lettered registers and some other special ones. But in those cases, you generally don't need to think about that. So how do we handle this situation where I yank function and now I want to paste it on a new line? Because when I paste it, it just gets pasted on the same exact line after my cursor position. How do I do that? Well, the Vim junkie solution is to use the put command, or just pu, and this does what you want, roughly. You then have to re-indent it. That's like fair enough, but what if I want to like paste it again, like on another different line? If I try to paste it, it's still character-wise. So I, like, what? Do I have to use PU every time? That's pretty annoying. And you probably don't have a hotkey to repeat your last command mode command. I'll show it if somebody reminds me later. So that's a solution for like a one-time thing. If I want to continue pasting function as on its own line, well, oh, sorry. Like, it's kind of annoying to have to use PU every single time. So, register types. When we edited this macro, it's actually character-wise. It doesn't have a new line at the end, although it's not like visible and obvious. That is the case. There is no new line at the end. This is a character-wise register in U. And when we save it, it stays character-wise. Let's yank something to the A register. Let's edit it. Let's actually do ASDF here. Close it. And now paste from the A register. It stays line-wise like it was. Same idea happens with block-wise. So the default behavior of my edit register thingy is that it keeps the register type the same. It works this way. No, I'm explaining this specifically because making it this way was like more annoying than I expected it to be. Like handling it in this normal default way. But the thing is, you don't have to. You don't have to keep the same register type. You can edit, you can copy function as character-wise, then edit register the default one. Let's say you change function to functions, but by the way, don't have to make a change. Like, let's suppose for now we don't make any changes, but if you did add another change, it would still work. So, and just close. Oh, I forgot to do the extra thing. So I use a different mapping. So leader capital H now. We edit our default register. Now I close it and I get asked a question. Enter the register type. So you have an option to first edit some register, but then also change its register type. We yanked it character-wise, so without this, when we paste it in the future, it will be pasted character-wise on the same line after our cursor. But we can actually reply with a different register type. So first of all, it expects one of three keys from us. L stands for line-wise. We will turn this character-wise register into a line-wise register. If we press C, it will be turned into character-wise. In other words, nothing changes. And B will make it block-wise, which, considering that this is a single line, will basically act the same as character-wise, but it's technically different. Then to immediately explain, if you press any other key, then it will assume that you want to keep the same register type. So if this is character-wise and you press J, it doesn't expect J, so it will keep it character-wise. Make sense? And if you press escape, you cancel out of the editing operation altogether. You don't even touch that register. So let's press L. And now when I paste, it gets pasted on a new line. Because we edited it and changed the register type at the same time. But this is not default behavior. Let's go to editor, and yeah, this is how the plugin is called, edister.nvim. And these are the two mappings that I've been using. Editor does not introduce any default mappings that you would have to be annoyed at and go disable. Generally, I hate when plugins like introduce default mappings and then you have to go disable them. I think it should be in the power of the user to decide their own mappings, and then the plugin developer should leave a suggested mapping section that you could easily copy from. I'm like very opinionated about this. So the default behavior does not ask you of a register type because the default Vim user doesn't know what the fuck those are. So this shouldn't be a default feature. So you can see if I don't pass anything into edit register, that is the default mapping that I've been using. I close, and no matter how I close this window, my changes will be saved, by the way. Pretty sure even if I close without saving, it will still save. I have to warn you of that. Maybe there is a better way of doing it where it doesn't have to work this way, but make a pull request to the plugin if you know how. But if you pass into the second parameter the ask string, this is all explained in the README, by the way, all the API and the reasoning and etc. Then it does ask you, after editing a register, for the register type that you want. Press J because first of all, I didn't want to change the register type, and second of all, I forgot what register type it even had. So if I just always press J, I don't even need to think. In other words, if you care, rather, if you don't mind having to press another key every single time you press a register, it's actually viable to make the ask mapping to be your default mapping if you want. Because right now, what I get from the ask option is the ability to cancel by pressing escape. I don't have that ability in the default behavior. And then if generally I want to keep the same register type, I can just get used to pressing J, and this does what you expect. It keeps the same register type as it had before. So that is viable. Okay. Before we continue, a technical detail, which probably doesn't matter to the average user. So the first parameter in edit register is actually the register that you want to edit. So if you wanted to, you could say, oh, register A. Maybe you use register A for something special and you want to make a different hotkey, which is easier to access to edit specifically register A for whatever reason. You should have the power to be able to do that. So you can just pass the register that you want to edit. However, if it is not passed, or if it's nil, then you get the behavior of the plugin asking you for a register, as you can see here. So this way, you can have a single mapping for all the registers that you can use. And it will just interactively ask you, and you just press a character, F for example, and here you go. The nice thing about it is that if you do, as I call them, register remappings, where let me try to give you an example. So let's say you made it in your config that instead of colon, meaning command mode, you can also use Let me make up some bullshit. Fuck. Enter. Enter makes a lot of sense, because for me, enter goes me to command mode. So what I can do here is leader H is the default mapping, but leader H control edits the colon register. Now let me actually prove you that example. Let's do echo high, so we do have something in our colon register, and it, by the way, it contains your most recent command mode command. So now when I do leader H enter, oh well, that's a bad example because you can't actually write to the colon register. It's read only. Let me do some better example. Okay, let's make it A, whatever. Just use some register that is writable. And all of them are listed in the README, by the way. By the way, actually, about time I fucking like give you the link to the plugin, maybe? Crazy, I know. Some guy has been watching the VOD, and I'm like, I'm so excited about this functionality. I want it in my script right now. Watches for 10, 20, however many minutes it has taken, almost an hour. And like, she still didn't give me a link to this. Now I don't want this functionality. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I should have given you a link a bit earlier, when I revealed the name at least. Blammo. So now when we do leader H control, we edit the A register. So you have this power for you to decide, oh, this mapping edits this register for whatever reason. I shouldn't have to decide for you that you, for some reason, shouldn't be able to do this. So you can pass a register if you want to. However, if you don't pass it, or if you pass nil, which in Lua is the same thing, by the way, then it is asked for you from you interactively. Boom. The same thing actually happens for the register type. The second parameter is the register type. If you pass nil or nothing, then it is assumed. Basically, it is kept. If you were editing a line-wise register, it is kept line-wise. If you edit it character-wise, it stays character-wise, as you would expect. Otherwise, you can pass L, B, C, and some other ones that that set reg expects. If you're really interested beyond that, you can check out the docs. But if you pass a special string ask, then you get the behavior of the plugin asking you interactively for the register type. So this way you can make your mappings like what you actually want of them. You can make a special mapping to edit and specifically turn into line-wise for whatever reason. I don't know, maybe you want that. Blammo. And the reason I'm even talking about this, all of this is explained in the README and probably more concisely and better. The reason I'm talking about this is because there are two special registers. Special quote-unquote registers. They're not actual registers. They're just a nice thing. So the default register is the double quote register, unless you set the clipboard option to unnamed, in which case it is the star register. Unless you set the clipboard option to unnamed plus, in which case it is the plus register. Unless, you see where I'm going with this? This kind of annoying to have to mentally change what you have to press as a register, when in reality you just mean whatever my default register actually is. Because the clipboard option, what it does is that, share my default register with the system clipboard, which I do have set, or share my default register with the system paste register, the one for selections that Linux uses for some fucking reason. So yeah, instead of having to, first of all, have to press shift to get double quotes, most likely, if you're in QWERTY. Same case being for plus and star. Don't bother, just use single quote. And single quote in my plugin will mean whatever your default register actually is. So it looks at the clipboard option and resolves into the correct one that you expect, basically. So when you want to edit your default register, so the latest thing that you interacted with, just use single quote and blammo, you're done. You can edit it, leader S, we close it, paste it, and now it's leader S, blammo. Just that easy, just that quick. Yeah. And another one, the colon register is not actually editable, so it is not applicable. It's not usable in edit register, but it is here. But long story short, you can do the same thing. Instead of using colon, you can just use semicolon, which is easier to press, and then it will mean the colon register. But once again, it only really makes sense for these actions, which I'm about to explain after coming back. Let me remember how I do my things. I think it's this. Nope. This. Not exactly. This. Yes. I am back. So, let me show you the situation from which these actions even appeared to begin with. Let's say you record a macro, and this is going to be a simple one because it's just an example. Doesn't really matter. Macro that adds, oops, nope, not into capital A. Let's record. Can you see that I'm not like very used to macros? Let's record into A. So a macro in the A register that adds a comma at the end of a line, and then goes to the next line. For convenience, we stop recording. Blammo. And now I want to execute it. So I do ZUA Oh wait, ZLA. Right. ZLA. Do you know Yabujin or DJ Jirotazawa? No clue. Never heard of them. Nope. So I execute this macro and then I realize, well, hold up. It's actually kind of inconvenient. So I do ZL and then I have to move the same pinky finger from Z to A. I want to move the macro in the A register to some other register that is a bit easier to press quickly. How do you do this by default? The answer is you don't. You give up. It's genuinely like the best solution that you have. You just kind of cry your tears and just don't do it because it's way too much. Well, with my plugin, you can do leader G. It's my mapping. Like your mapping can be different, by the way. Yabujin was really an underground artist. Are they Japanese? Because the name implies that. I'm not sure what music you're listening to, but personally I am a huge fan of necro trap and trap metal. This is my best playlist. Might as well give you a link, I guess. Where I contain like the tracks that I keep on listening to on repeat. A recent one I've been really enjoying is this one. It's so good. And this one is also like incredible. Like, God, I love necro trap so much. It is like ridiculously good. Whoever came up with it, thank you. God damn. So yeah, we can do leader G. Whoops, we were already in the action. As you can see from my notifications, edister like tells you if you did something wrong, and it like tells you what you did wrong and how. Like for example, if you try to edit colon, it says only writable registers are allowed, and what you passed, so you can kind of see what you did wrong to begin with. Arabic, it's Arabic. I think the translation is father of jinns, but he they Lithuanian. Are they a rapper? Because I only ever listen to either rap adjacent people or straight up rappers. Calling necro trap like rap adjacent is kind of weird in its own sense. Like, I guess, yeah, like technically, but not in spirit. Hard style. So yeah, now I can move from A register to say J, because that's kind of easier to press, and I can do ZLJ, and I like that quite a bit more. I can now move from one register to another. That's pretty fucking neat to have, because by default this would be entirely too annoying to do. You would have to once again do let at L equals, and then you paste in A. Whoops, this had a single quote, blah blah blah. You know how it goes. That's how you would do it by default. But now you can just move. See how quick that was? Sure, maybe you won't have a 2-character hotkey for this, like I do, but even 3-key hotkey will still be like great. The actual like more useful use case for this is what if you want to paste your previous command line? No, actually, let me give you an even better example. Let's say I did some really complex, let's say I made some really complex command, actually like this, right? I executed, whoops, everything breaks, but let's say it actually worked, doesn't really matter. So that was the latest command that I executed in command mode. How do I give it to you? question mark, right? Well, I can move from the semicolon, meaning colon register. So I can move from the register that contains my latest command mode command into plus to mean my system clipboard. But since my clipboard option is set to unnamed plus, I can just use single quote. But for simplification, let's just press plus. And now my latest command mode command is in my system clipboard, and I can just paste it to you. Imagine? Like, what? That's crazy! And I slowed down to explain it all, but in reality, this will be really quick. Boom. Like, that was really fucking quick. How do you do it by default? So you do this, and then... Whoops. No, that was just my mistake, so don't count that. And then you paste from... Oops, so you need to press shift for the colon. Instead of just single... instead of semicolon. And now it's in your clipboard. So quite a bit more annoying, first of all, and second of all, slower. And you can just do this now. This mapping is for a situation I have not yet encountered, but it would be strange to not allow you to do so. So let's say we yank function into the A register. And what I want to do right now is to move it from the A register into J and also make it line-wise. It's a pretty complex idea, but you should be able to do it. So I do leader capital J, A, J, L. It's kind of a lot, so let's like recuperate from this. I moved from the A register into the J register. And I got asked the register type that I want. And that is L, so I pressed L. So I moved from register A, that was character-wise, into register J, and also made it line-wise. By the way, when I say move, I don't mean it, because A still contains function. So I guess it's more copy. But if I removed it now, it would be a breaking change, so I won't. So semantically, this is wrong naming, but in terms of idea, like, you're basically moving. You're just not clearing the other one. It doesn't matter. So yeah, now you can do that. What are the parameters? The first one is the register that you want to move from. The second one is the register that you want to move into. And the third one is the register type that you want. If you don't pass anything, all of that is asked from you interactively. And regardless if they got asked from you interactively or you pass them yourself, they are checked to be valid registers in them. Like, you can't say, you can't move from ampersand because it's not a writable, it's not a readable register. It's not even a register at all. By the way, what is your thumbnail editor or photo editor? I use GIMP. I use GIMP. Blammo, it opens in a billion seconds. Then I open my preset that I have. So I do pick tools blank. This opens me this. Then I go into Discord to look at the different emojis, and I'm like, okay, this kind of goes hard. So I'm like, mosquito. Then I use my own symbol picker to get the code point of it. Okay, so mosquito 1F99F. Okay, this copies it to my clipboard. Then I go to OnKey 1F99F. And to confirm, I enter 1F99F. This is indeed mosquito. And now in the future, I will know the Unicode of this emoji. Cool. Let's go. Like, imagine I was here. Let's open with oil the directory in which I have all of the SVGs for Twimoji, emojis. They're not very visible here, they're really small. But yeah, let's search for 1F9999F. Let's check. Yes, that is indeed a mosquito. Let me rename it mosquito. Let's copy the full path of it and go back to GIMP. Let's paste it in. The width and height should be 350. Alt O, blammo. Now I move it with shift arrow keys. And that is the first half of it done. And I repeat this process again. Wow! Actually, I used this before, so... Ooh, that's kind of interesting. And the same exact process, and I get the second one, I export, and I use it. So that's the entire process of my thumbnail making. Blammo. I don't think I've ever fully explained like the entire process. The reason why they're so simple is, one, I barely have enough energy to stream. If you look at the consistency of how often I stream, it is not very often. That is because I have to collect energy, like actively collect energy to be able to go and stream. This shit is difficult for me. I think it's because of the autism. So if I also had to spend effort on making a thumbnail every time I stream, I would just never fucking stream. So that was my hack. The great benefit that I get from this is that my thumbnails actually stand out. If you scroll through recommendations, they're very commonly like, there's too much happening there. And you have to kind of look at it and parse what's happening. You don't have to do that with my thumbnails. Just see two emojis on a white background, that's it. You're like, oh cool, that's an Axel Fubler video, if you can pronounce it. So they also stand out while being easy to make. Coffee plus milk confusion. Really? It kind of slaps, but on the other hand, the milk feels heavy, which is why I don't do coffee plus milk often. Yeah, but full disclosure, it's not really fully my idea. The execution is, I guess, but I got inspired by Tsoding, a programming streamer that I heavily recommend. Dude is amazing. He's Russian, by the way. So if I, the infamous Russian hater, is calling him good, he must be fucking good, right? So he also has a very similar idea. His thumbnails are very simplistic. I feel like they generally have a bit more going around in them, but generally they're also very, very simple. And so they stand out. Hell yeah, you know him. Fuck yeah. He's amazing, I love him. So yeah, I noticed that they go hard, they stand out, and they seem to be easier to make. And I basically am doing a version of that idea with my spin, being just using Unicode emojis. So yeah, this is the editor plugin. Lets you edit a register easily, and also lets you move one register to another copy, technically. Yeah. So I'm super happy about it. 3D in C, 3D in TypeScript. Fuck no. I don't know a lick of C, yet still. I like Toading, but I just can't listen to him for some reason. He speaks so monotonously, I just fall asleep. That's super fair, but for me, I don't know, that kind of slaps a lot for some reason. He is generally, like, pretty monotonous, but sometimes, here and there, he kind of goes off this monotonous script to tell some kind of neat joke here and there. It's like very slight but very easy to appreciate, I guess. It's like super neat. And I have to show it to you because that shit slapped so good. It was so good. Let's go to this channel, Soding. If you're not Russian, it's not going to slap nearly as good, if at all. But I loved it so much. So on April 1st, he made a stream where he was making a Russian programming language which used Cyrillics like for the language. If you're Russian, you have to watch this. Like, if you're Russian and a programmer, you will find this hilarious. This shit was so funny. Like, ridiculously funny. I'm like remembering it, and I was laughing my ass off throughout the entire stream. It was so funny. Cause bro be saying Бро главное нач кц то. I don't know, I can't probably like give that stream justice and how hilarious it was, because I don't know, using Russian words as keywords in a programming language inherently is hilarious. It was so funny. So yeah, it's like golden. I love that dude so much. Yeah. I also like I was inspired a lot from him. Like, for example, I have a Discord server linked in the description of the stream, of every stream. I literally stole this idea from him. The idea of having a special role on my server that you can opt into, and then you will get pinged for my streams. That is like a solid 40% of me even making a Discord server to begin with. I was told by YouTubers that it's actually a terrible idea to make a Discord server like around a YouTuber, and so I trusted them. But no, actually, it was an amazing fucking idea, and this has been an amazing decision. You can see it by that I don't have any other server that I'm joined in, simply because my own Discord server is just that good, and I like it that much that I don't need any other Discord server. It has been an amazing idea, and especially the idea to make this channel. Oh my god, I struck gold! If you've been in my Discord server, you would know what I'm talking about, because holy fuck. Non-Russian programmer would be like, I mean, definitely watch the stream too, I just don't know if it's going to be nearly as funny to you, because the stream is entirely in Russian. I believe it also has subtitles, but I don't think they can properly translate the funniness, the inherent funniness of using Russian keywords. It's just kind of built on puns in a way. Just like kind of unfortunate. But I think you're winning overall. Like, if you don't know Russian, I think overall you're better off, you know? I wonder what I have sent into that channel. Yeah. So yeah, one glazing session of Tsoding done. I'll do another sometime. Oh right, I was gonna open editor. Oh right, that hotkey just copies the link. Over here in Germany, some old people actually call in German too. It's the dumbest shit ever. I think you've mentioned that to me, and that shit is so funny. Like, it's hilarious. So here's the repository. and here's the README. So all the options that you can set. Yeah, by the way, you can customize the window size and borders. Because I can see how for some people, why is it not doing the thing? Huh? Oh, because I was in fucking visual mode. I'm a dumbass. I can see how for some people this no bordered window is ugly. For me, it's peak fucking design, but I can see how it's ugly, or like can be ugly. You can customize that. Yeah. Stream talking about only toting. That's hilarious. That's actually really funny. Oh, even better. The yin yang stream. The first half I glaze toting. The second half I hate on what's his name? The Primogen. That would be so on brand for me. Because all the keywords are oh but then the function is German and nothing makes sense anymore. That's even stupider. Wow. So why does this plugin open a floating window, not just a normal buffer? Because most people because it doesn't make sense within the context of Vim is the simplest, most complex answer. Well, fucking thank God, because I wouldn't know how to fix it. Lamau. I'll try to explain it in brief. I won't do the full complex explanation because it's way too long. Because of the concept of alternate registers or alternate buffers. So I have this file open. It is my current buffer. I open another file. It is now my current buffer. I can access the latest buffer that I was in by default pressing Ctrl+6. What? Which is why I have it remapped to backtick. So right now, AstraCore is my current buffer, and xremap is my alternate buffer. I jump to my alternate buffer. This can be very, very convenient. If you're working on two files at the same time, you can very quickly jump between them. I want to quickly edit a register. This would open in a buffer as per your suggestion. First of all, how do I close it? If I closed it, I would close the entirety of NeoVim. I probably don't want to do that. Or the tab that I was on. Fair enough, maybe I make it so in my plugin, it recognizes write to save the changes, whatever. Like, I would probably figure it out. Okay, so we go to our previous buffer, AstraCore, using alternate buffer, but now xremap is no longer the alternate file. Matter of fact, the alternate file no longer exists because I would clear that temporary buffer that you would get for editing a register. So now, because of a plugin that should have no business changing your alternate buffer, because of that, you don't have your alternate buffer that you might have been really needing. And now you have to come up with a way to come back to it. I mean, if you use harp NeoVim, it's probably going to be easier for a person than for a person that doesn't use it. But regardless, it's kind of annoying to have to re-go to this buffer to reset your alternate buffer. So that is the core of the reason why I use a floating window rather than a buffer. You might have also meant by normal buffer, you might have also meant a tiling window. That is actually what I wanted to use instead. I think it makes more sense and it's kind of neater. But the NeoVim API, God, I hate it with a passion. So it has a convenient API to make a floating window. It does not have a convenient API to make a tiled window. What? The fuck? So I tried for a good 2 hours to make this happen in a tiled window, could not for the life of me figure it out. But a floating window I could, and so I did floating window. That's like the core of the reason. But then also what I realized is that if you already have a couple of tiles, then adding on a new tile can feel more annoying than helpful, in my opinion. Like if I'm in this situation, right? And I want to edit a register and it would open a tiled window. Well, now I don't really want it to be this way. And even if it was like truly correct as I expect, when I would close it, now you can see how I would have to fix this. This is pretty annoying. So it has other issues beyond being kind of impossible to make to begin with. I hope that explanation makes sense. So that's why we're using a floating window. Boom. Next, I want to talk about a plugin that I recently rediscovered, but now it finally works for me. NVIM-Spider. The somewhat long story short, it makes the word backword, end of word, and G end of word, I don't know how to mnemonize it. It makes those motions make more sense. It's going to be explained more precisely in the README, of course. But basically, how would you jump to here? From this position to here. You could use W, but you would have to factor in, okay, so this is a single section that is considered a word, so this is the next word. And then this is by itself a word, then this is also by itself a word, this is also a word, 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 word. You can guess what I'm doing here. Boom. So this is the, let's call it tokenization of words using the W, B, and E and GE motions. This is how they're like laid out, I guess. You will see pretty commonly that some things are considered words when in reality I will never care about them being words. For example, if I'm on nil, to jump to ask, I would have to first jump to the comma, then jump to the single quote, and then to ask. Let me show it off. So I do, oh, actually, I can't show it off because I have the plugin that fixes this. So, yeah, when I do word, I probably just want to go to the next word, rather than some annoying punctuation I have to go through, which is why I would just generally FA to search for A and go to A. So the word motion ends up being useless really commonly, and this is why oftentimes I just always used the uppercase variants of them to go through all of the bullshit. Well, thanks to the Spider plugin, it skips the bullshit. You just skip stuff that shouldn't, by all accounts, be considered words because they're not used semantically as words. They're just groups of special characters or punctuation. But in reality, you want words. And now, with Spider, you can just go from word to word. And also, by default, it recognizes like subwords. So without camel case motion, I can just go subword by subword, which is very convenient. And I'm skipping all of the bullshit here, and I only go either to actual words or to indentation, which is like on by itself, surrounded by white space. So yeah, like, I probably do want to be able to jump to the equal sign as a word. But I don't care about the brackets. Because if I did, they're unique enough where I could probably just jump to them, right? And it makes sense to jump to them, because they're like special, rather than trying to search for the letter N and fucking up, as you can see. So it makes the word motions way better and way more usable for actual traveling. So we have to use the F and T motions far less, because they're not going to be as required. Because the default way, how do we get to register? My instinct at this point is to do FR and then just continue until I'm there, which is really fucking bad. And default word motion would work like this. Boom, 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 and now you have to FR still. So sucks. Just 3W. That's simple. Really, really lovely. Oh, I actually did talk about it on previous stream. Oh, I didn't actually add talking about spider here. I recently made something incredibly unsafe, which is very on brand for me. Because I generally pick functionality and comfortability over sense and security, which I definitely wouldn't say on my resume or in an interview. But it's just because generally I just work on my own configuration, where properness doesn't matter as much as in a real project. And I made something really stupid, but it's so good. I made a Telegram bot in Rust. I cannot show you the code because it's private, because it's written in a very me-specific way. It includes some personal information which I can't show you, unfortunately. So I guess you will have to trust me on that. I wrote a Telegram bot using Rust, and it has been an interesting experience. Hey, are you by any chance like Doctor Who? I've never watched it. It sounds overwhelming. Like, there's so many seasons, and considering that I drop shows like plates, like I drop shows really easily. Let's go to Z share Glaza and look at my commit log of the shows that I watch. You will notice, well, I guess not here, but look out for finish versus drop. Drop happens like very often. Yes, I even dropped One Piece manga and I'm on Wano. So even that can happen. This was supposedly pretty good. Nope, could not finish a 1 hour movie because I was disappointed. Yes, believe it or not, I dropped fucking Arcane, the thing that everyone swears is the second coming of Christ. Rick and Morty, I love. Rick and Morty goes hard. I've never cared about, it's cringe, all these people trying to act like Rick. I don't care, the show is good. The show is so good. Literally so good. I love Rick and Morty. Unfortunate that, like, this is a very common pattern where when something is really good, the quote-unquote mastermind behind it is some sort of, like, terrible human being. I forget his name, but he's, like, what, an abuser? And he left the show then? Very unfortunate. Yeah, people usually are, like, super annoyed, I guess, or cringe at this stuff. I think being able to live in cringe and easily express it is more powerful than being like, oh no, cringe, you know? Like, be cringe, that's more powerful. Similar to how it's almost more manly, actually it kind of is more manly to, as a man, wear a dress. Because you're so fucking confident in yourself that you don't need to hide behind this veil of, oh no, I'm a man, you know? But I'm not a man, so who am I talking to, right? So I drop stuff really commonly, which is why it's basically impossible for me to watch something as, like, long as that. Helk was so good. Helk is an anime, watch it, it's so good. That one I did finish, as you can see. What was I on about? Right, so the Telegram bot was an interesting experience to write. I'm actually very, very slowly currently learning Python. So I thought, oh, actually, that's a pretty good project for learning Python, making a Telegram bot. Because all I hear about is that, oh, Python is so easy for this sort of thing, for something that you want to make quickly. Maybe you don't particularly care about the safety, which is the case for me. Like, oh, I just want this functionality. I don't care how well it's written, basically. Python is great for that. I'm like, okay. So I asked ChatGPT for the entire implementation, because you can do that with Python. That's pretty cool. And it's like, okay, so you have to install this library to make what I wanted to make happen. And then I'm like, okay, fair enough. Let me pip install telethon. No, was it telethon? It might have been telethon. Okay, let's say telethon. Let's install that. Whoops. This error basically install it differently. I'm like, okay, that's actually even better. Makes sense for Arch to just install it from the package manager. Duh. So we do paru telethon. No, please load. So I tried installing it. It didn't build. I tried installing this. It didn't build. I'm like, well, fuck, this sucks. Maybe I use the other suggestion to try to install it with pipx, like I was suggested in that error message. Telethon. Whoops. Also doesn't install. I was like, well, god damn it. Why is it so annoying? The Python knowers in the chat will probably say, oh, you're supposed to make a virtual environment. I don't know how to do this shit. And remember this very important point. My goal was to get the functionality and do so quickly. And I didn't really care to figure out how to, like, literally just install a library. This shouldn't be as difficult. You know how difficult it is to do in Rust? Cargo add library. And it is guaranteed to work. It will always work. Like, it has to work. If your library doesn't build, you will not be let to upload it in Rust. This is guaranteed to work. And so that's what I did. I made a Telegram bot in Rust, and that has been a far easier, surprisingly, experience. I will omit the actual purpose, the initial purpose of that bot. If you're very interested, join my Discord server. And go into the second one. This Telegram bot lets me execute arbitrary shell commands on my computer. If you know anything about security, you will be saying, "Oh God," right now. What's my safety measure? If the chat ID, which is also equivalent to the user ID, doesn't match with mine, then you're not allowed to do anything with the bot. This sounds pretty safe for me. I am sure, though, there probably is a way to like go around it, which is why I'm not even telling you the name of my bot. I do realize that there's probably some way to go around my very like not crazy safety measure, but I'm trying to make it as safe as I can. Because that is a lot. You can execute arbitrary shell commands using this bot. So let me go on my phone and execute an arbitrary shell command. I don't have a way of proving this to you, so you'll have to just trust me on that. Oh, and also, I wouldn't be able to show you this bot because of the primary purpose of this bot. Executing shell commands is secondary, so you'll have to trust me on that. I am not touching my computer right now. And I'll execute wm control -s0 send. We are already on 0. That makes sense. Let's do something else. So this command lets you move to a different workspace or tag or desktop, whatever it's actually called in your window manager. So this is like a general API of doing this. Let's do 5. Voila. I was able to switch desktops from my phone. I was able to switch desktops on my computer using exclusively my phone. All I had to be sure of is that some bot process is running. And that's it. You know how powerful that is? Holy fuck. A fraction of the power that I'm already using. Say I have did what? I have done some reviews of Anki on my computer. Let's go to Frec. What's the ASCII code for W? I believe it is 109. Nope, it is 119. I'm like, well, fuck this. I give up. I go on to my next task and do something else. Then I leave to, I don't know, go to the toilet, for example, and I cannot leave entertaining my mind for a second. I don't believe I think I have ADHD, just a bad habit. So I'm trying to make a bad habit into a not as bad habit. So I go into Anki on my phone. So what's the issue here? If you remember, I did a single review here, but I did not sync it with Anki Web. I did not sync it with Anki Web, so it would get reflected on my phone. If I try to do reviews on my phone, well, then I'll have to re-review what I just reviewed. This sucks, and what this means is I probably shouldn't review on my phone, kinda wasting time, just because I have to come to my computer and go sync, and then I can do the reviews on my phone. Well, not anymore. I have built sync Anki, a fish shell function that does an API request to a plugin that you can install. I guess they're called add-ons, called Anki Connect, that lets you interact with your Anki using HTTP requests. And what this does is it syncs the thing. So once again, you'll have to believe me that I'm not touching my computer right now, only my phone. I execute sync _ Anki, press send, and it syncs magically. I wait a few seconds to make sure that it's synced. Now I can just go to Anki on my phone, sync there, and continue on with my reviews like nothing happened. I can just like forget about syncing and do it remotely. How incredible is that? It is amazing. The only reason why I don't have auto sync, which I could have implemented by this point, is because sometimes syncs have to be one way. If I change something dramatic about my about a note type of a card, for example, then I can't just sync because it will ask me to which direction. Like, do you want to override the server or do you want to override the local? This is why I don't have auto sync. But generally, if I did an action this big, I'll probably remember that, oh, it would be a one-way sync. In other words, I'll remember that I can sync remotely. Hope that makes sense. So that is incredibly powerful. Another example that I can't show you, I can fucking put my laptop to sleep remotely. I am very surprised this even works, considering that this is the laptop that runs this bot. I self-host it. I can execute the suspend alias that I have to put my laptop to sleep remotely. So say I am listening to some ASMR or some music or whatever else on my speaker connected to my laptop, and I am in my bed. I decide to go to sleep. Now I can just send the go to sleep command to my laptop and I don't even have to get up. Shit, I can be in a different country and this will still work. And that is so immensely cool. Some less whack people than me will say, oh, actually, it's like better if you use SSH for this kind of task. That's very, very reasonable. My counter argument is that I'll have to learn how to do that, and considering a discussion that we had on our server about this specific thing, it seems to be more annoying than just being like hyper simple. So I'd have to spend, let's say, 3 to 4 hours on figuring it out, maybe more. I already have this solution. So, and it works. Blammo, done. And also, because of how, like, kind of strangely whack it is, I enjoy it more. It's kind of fun. It's just kind of fun to be using a bot for this type of thing. It's like, wow. So yeah, I wanted to talk about this some time ago, but now I realize that's actually kind of like and boring and not very interesting. Wait, what is it? It's kind of interesting, but I just lost interest. I showed you the process that I go through for making a thumbnail. I told you that I rename the emojis that I come across on. This is so in the future, in like 1,000 years, I guess, it will be sometimes possible to just search by name rather than having to search by Unicode. I renamed this emoji while making the thumbnail for this stream, and that's why it has a name that I can now search for. But then I have to commit all of this. First of all, where do I make the effort to actually make the commit? I'll have to actually remember, okay, so we need to go in and commit this, which is kind of annoying in itself. And then also, how do I like package this into a single commit so that it makes sense? What, do I say add cat, blowfish, mosquito? That's kind of arbitrary. What if I had 18 thingies? It's not going to fit in the commit message in the 72 characters that you get in the title of the commit. So that kind of sucks. Do I then just arbitrarily split it into multiple parts? It's kind of ridiculous. Okay, do I just make it so one file is a single commit, so the deletion and the addition, so the rename, do I package this into a single commit? That makes the most sense. However, that is entirely too much effort to actually put in. Like, think about it. That is just too much. Genuinely. I can't be bothered to actually do this, which is why I automated this. Some other stuff too. Let's go to delish. And somewhere in here it will have the thing. I don't actually remember where it is. Here it is. So tweemoji.fish. So I wrote this fish script that automatically commits in this type of way for me. It takes every single file and then basically stages the deletion and the addition together, commits them together, and makes an appropriate commit message. And this is done daily automatically. I never have to think about it. And also daily automatically some of my Git directories get pushed automatically, like the .files directory, for example, because there if I need to force push, I don't care. It's not a project where that might matter. So now in a bunch of places I don't even need to push ever. It's just done for me. So if we look at the commit log, you can see a lot of nice, very easily searchable and understandable commit messages that I didn't need to work on. They got done for me. So tomorrow, this 4.4 will be removed. There won't be a git status here because they will be automatically committed and pushed, which I find to be really, really fucking good. Then similarly, I do a similar thing for essentially backing up on GitHub my magazines, so my global registers, my harp information for harp NeoVim, some other stuff too, Loago as well. So if we go to the backup and look at my commits, fucking most of them are automatic syncs. It's like the overwhelming majority of them, actually. Yeah. So I just found this idea really neat. It's a bit of a abuse, not gonna lie, of using GitHub for this sort of thing, but it allows me, and so I do. By the way, this Twimoji SVG is a public repository that I have, and it contains all the Twimoji emoji SVGs. They are actually open source. Like, you can get them. I just found the directory structure in which they were contained to be a bit annoying, which is why I copied them into my own repository. And also, I removed the license. So technically, I'm doing a bad thing here. I'm like breaking their license by not including a license. And I'm doing this only and specifically so I wouldn't have to contain another file that is not an SVG. And I have two branches. One is main, which is unchanged, and one is named, that I bit by bit rename the emojis, or that I add names to them. So if you need this, go look at my GitHub repo. I'm not gonna like send a link to it directly, to not like be super open about it, but it's there. Same thing about Google emojis. Actually, even if you did include the license, you would be breaching the license, but whatever. Well, тем более. Yeah. I guess, oh well. I guess I'm just hoping I'm small enough to not be noticed. That's my, like, approach. Don't even remember. Ah, that's what it is. To continue on with me mentioning magazines, so literally every kernel ever. That's so true. Exactly. I mean, what the fuck are they gonna do? I'm in Russia. Fuck you can do to a person in Russia? Probably something, but I don't know that. Makes sense? No, it doesn't. So magazines are my global registers. The same type of idea as Vim registers, but system-wide. And they're just files. And this is what I use for this, for add to a register, whatever. On and on. I have shown them off in bigger detail in the past, which is why I'm not gonna go too deeply into them. Long story short, there are files that I have UIs around to interact with them easily. And thanks to this, like, very convenient API where I can, remove a line from this file or add a line to this file, they end up being very, very stretchy in how much I can use them for other stuff. For example, I have in my register capital X all the packages that I have installed with AUR, or from the AUR. So if I ever install something like Telethon, for example, and I pick one, now I can just add the package to the capital X magazine, and now it is tracked that I have it installed. If my distro ever breaks, I have to reinstall, I will have all of the packages that I had, because I stored them this conveniently. And this has the benefit, like, this used to be in just some file that I would have to go into NeoVim and go search for it to edit. Now I don't have to go through this trouble. I can just directly add and continue on with my day very, very quickly. Then similarly, in the capital Z register, I have all the packages that I have installed with Pacman. So not from the AUR, but instead from the repo. Yeah. And similarly, I can very easily interact with them. I also have a command runner. So I'm using Rofi to execute any shell command that I want to execute, like, quickly. Like, for example, I like finish watching some anime. I'm like, okay, gx. It's my program called Glaza. I don't think I've talked about it. I haven't talked about updating it majorly. So Glaza, finish this show, and boom, I can just execute a command on a whim. So what I just would have executed is actually stored in, you guessed it, a magazine. In capital H, I have stored the history of this runner specifically. And I can add to it, I can filter it, like remove some lines, I can completely clear it if I want, I can view it, I can even copy it if I want. I can also edit it in NVIM for some like more specific actions. So like that's very convenient. I have a lot of actions that I can do for free. I wouldn't go on to actively implement all of these actions just for the history of the runner, but because I already have this framework of different actions with the magazines, I don't have to implement these features on a one-by-one basis. No, every single magazine has these features, and then what I use a magazine for, fucking God knows. It can be anything. So I really appreciate the stretchiness of this kind of idea, and I want to inspire you to maybe do something similar, where you have some sort of global registers that you can easily interact with conveniently, and then some information that you might want to edit often, just store that information in one of the registers. Another example, I don't trust Google. Wow, who could have guessed? But for a different reason. I don't trust Google to keep my subscriptions like forever. I've actually lost my Google account 2 times. The second time was because I transitioned and my previous Gmail was stupidly my full entire dead name. Don't do that. Like, even if you're cis and you're like very sure you're cis, do not, for the love of God, name your Gmail with your legal name. Because on the very, very low off chance that you're trans, you're going to regret it. It's so annoying. It is like, ugh. So, yeah, like, use your nickname or some shit, because that is, like, more gender neutral. Plus, even if it's not because of being trans, maybe for some other reason you won't want to have your actual full name as your Gmail. Can be a lot of reasons, so that's a very bad idea. So, yeah, in the experience of losing your Google account, you also lose your YouTube account, and you lose the subscriptions that you had in here. And then I have to put in so much effort in restoring my perfect, and even then still shit, like YouTube recommendations. Like, let's look at them. Okay, good video I have in my watch later, but we'll probably never watch. I'm only interested in Vim content from you. Yazi is kinda useless. I've watched another video on it. This I would watch, especially considering that this is a small YouTuber, seemingly. And actually, I'll go install it in F. This is a good video. I love this guy. I would never watch it though. It's kind of too boring. So in other words, out of 6 possible videos, there's only one that I would actually watch. So even after, what, a year of this account existing, YouTube still doesn't fucking know what I want to watch. And you have to put in a lot of effort into making it understand what you want to watch. Because remember, you probably don't know exactly what you want to watch and also discover. So the very least thing that I can do is make sure that I, at the very least, keep my subscriptions backed up somehow. To make sure that if I do lose my account for some reason, I will still know what people I'm subscribed to, so I can kind of bring back my recommendations to some sort of good degree and continue on with them. So I also store them in a magazine. So all of my subscriptions for programming content specifically are here. When I subscribe to some other new person, I just append to this file using a magazine action, and that's it. Blammo, done. Then for my subscriptions, which are not programming related, but just general YouTube, same exact thing. I just store all of them in a magazine. And then when I decide to like unsubscribe from someone, I can just filter it out using the action I'm currently using. So yeah, this goes hard. It's a very, very neat idea. Then on the topic of auto doing some useful thing, somewhere here, thank God I have telescope to easily jump to it, have this function PJS, but let me immediately just go and show you what it does. It collects a special file that I use in every one of my projects. So this is a file that I have in every single one of my projects that contains the to-dos for that project. So what PJS does is that it just goes on and collects all the outputs of all the project txt files and puts them into a single file. It's pretty neat, because say I'm like sitting around, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go work on one of my projects right now. I can just open this temporary file that contains all of the to-dos for all of my projects and then look around. Like, okay, so for harp, so list action, okay, am I ready to go do that? Probably no, because I can't be bothered, and it's a feature that I personally don't care about whatsoever, but I know that other people care about. I'll wait on it. Harp NeoVim. This is cool, but kind of don't care. Oh, this actually I should do. It's a pretty big bug that I discovered on the previous stream. And I should actually go ahead and fix that quickly. So I was able to just look through the to-dos of every single project that I have. And then the big thing that makes this like useful and viable, I can use built-in Vim GF to go to this file. And now I'm just in this project, in the project.txt file of the harp NeoVim project. So I can do my special thing to easily jump to the directory of the project and then just start working on it, I guess. So just, I don't have it set because of this, right? What? How did that happen? Wait. Let's actually update. And then I can continue on to work on the project. So I was able to look through everything that I have to do for every project, easily jump to that project and start my work. So it's a very butter smooth, a very like no friction way to motivate yourself. It's so easy to find and start working where you're not held back by having to first find something. You're not held back by moving to the project. It's all quick and simple. So I love that idea. So let's go to dot files and look for PJS again. Oops, no, not this. Oh, and by the way, this function is executed every 10 minutes. You could probably just do it so. You could probably make it so you watch those project files for changes, and when one of them changes, then you would execute the PGS function. Basically, you could do it more smartly than that. I just decided to not. I don't really care. So yeah, here it is. We just find every project.txt file in my prog directory, and print the file as well as the file name into the file. Let's go and discover cut. You might know awk, a very strong program for handling stuff with columns. I use it all over the place in my fish functions where I need to parse some type of output. Let's say nm collide device wi-fi list, I guess. So how do you get this, for example? Actually, good question. Should I be showing you this? I assume it's okay, right? What can you do with this information? I hope nothing. So how do you get this, for example? With awk, the answer is, I don't know. I'm not that good at awk. I just kind of oftentimes ask ChatGPT about it, but some things I kind of know. So let's do nr, I believe, is bigger than 1. We print, I believe it's just print. We print 3. Once again, I'm not actually good at awk. I'm just kind of guessing here. So this part wasn't correct. Basically, I wanted to skip a line, and all the other ones print the third column. This is what this does. So this failed, just printed the third column. awk is very powerful, and I do recommend, first of all, to myself, but also to you to learn it, because you can do some more complex things using awk. But for the use case of, oh, I want to get the third column of something, you can actually use something different. Cut. Let's do nmcli blah blah blah, but use cut instead this time. We cut, and we use the -f flag to specify a field, basically a column, that we want. We want the third one. And it doesn't work. So why? It is because the separator for fields in cut by default is tab. I was assuming that these are tabs. Because of the alignment, I was like, sure. that there were tabs? I guess not. How do you specify a delimiter then? Use the -d flag, and this will not work also, I assume, because it will only take the first one, the first space, but not the other ones. Let's check. Huh. Yeah, kinda. So this is the first one, separated by a space. This 0 width thing is also caught, separated by another space, and this is the third thing, which is why it worked this way. So I guess my example is just not very easy to parse with cut. This is where awk actually goes hard. So let's try to make up some other thing. What about BL devices? Yeah, devices. Okay, yeah. This is much better. So we can do cut -f. I want the third one. Or actually, let's say I want to grab all of the MAC addresses of my Bluetooth devices, which once again I hope is not like information that's like dangerous for me to reveal to you. I should not be a streamer. Like, it's so easy to, one, fool me, because it's pretty easy to fool me, and two, like, make me do something that I shouldn't be showing you. That shit is so dangerous. Blammo, using cut, we just grabbed the second field, which is separated by this delimiter, or tab by default, which basically means you always have to use this. Like, always have to provide the delimiter, because nothing ever is going to be divided by tab, probably. It's a really fucking stupid default. It's ridiculous. But the benefit of cut is that it lets you do something that in awk would be quite a bit more difficult. What if I want to grab all the names of my Bluetooth devices? In awk, you can say, oh, give me the third one. But if you wanted to say, oh, give me from the third one until the end, then it gets like strangely complicated. So you can just, like in cut, you can just say 3 dash to mean from 3 forever. And here you go. And it's just that simple. And this is almost readable. That's really fucking nice. So this is a very nice command to know about, to have it in your toolbox. It's very, very helpful for parsing output. Also, aside from F, there's also -C to separate by character, rather take character. Let's go and try it out. So C. Oh, fair enough. So yeah, -D is only valid for -F for fields, because here it doesn't make any sense. So here we took from the third character until the last one. We just removed D and E. Device. It's, by the way, it seems to be 1 indexed. So the third character. Then also you can make the difference of third byte, which in this case doesn't matter at all, but can be potentially useful. Then you can also do like from the beginning to the 15th character or field or byte, from the 7th to 15th, and I think that's it. So singular 1, from to forever, from 1 to something, and up to something. Yeah, I shown every possible type of range that you can specify, and the right number here is inclusive. I wish I knew about cut earlier, because I was using awk where it didn't have to be used, and made things more complicating for no reason. So cut is super nice. And the final thing, because this is kind of a lot of effort if I'll ever talk about it, and this is a plugin that I'm working on, pattern as a range. Did you know that you can use a pattern as a range? On the next line that matches this pattern, echo, execute the normal command, add a comma. And if you redo it, it will do it, I believe, on the next line. Yes. So it added one here. I believe you can also search backwards. So on the previous BGS, execute normal, add a comma, blammo. If you repeat it, that makes sense. Fair enough. So that's pretty cool. Then this one is like, I don't think anyone ever used it, but it's cool regardless. You can use this as a range, and what this means is that execute a command on the next line that matches the most recent substitute pattern. What are you talking about, right? So let's say you substituted BJS with something. BJS. I don't want to actually change it. And then you specify this range to say, oh, on the next line that matches what I just replaced with something else, execute this command. This can be potentially useful when you did some replacements, but then realize that you can't just directly replace on the other instances. And what you need to do is some normal mode command to do some more complex action. And that's when you would use this. Because ideally you would have a hotkey to repeat your previous command mode command. And I do. Let's go and look at it. It is this. Boom. Make this mapping. So we use the @ to execute a register, and we execute what is in the command mode register effectively. I have it set to ampersand because ampersand by default repeats the most recent substitute, which is way too restrictive, when in reality it can very much easily be execute the most recent command mode command, right? Because it can also be the latest substitute if that was the latest command, so it might as well just execute the latest command, because that is very useful. We do norm, whatever you actually want to add, and then I can just repeat it. So this is like a macro, but possibly easier to work with. Not anymore with my plugin, I guess. Well, I did not expect to actually go through so much stuff at a single time. It's pretty fucking good. Nice. So yeah, go check out the plugin. I hope it's going to be useful to a lot of people. go check out the Discord server if this is the type of thing that you could be interested in. And overall, have a good day, evening, night, morning, whatever it is for you. And